And good morning, Jennnifer. How are you today?
I'm great. Good morning. Hi.
Good. So, Jennnifer Callicoat. Who's Jennnifer Callicoat?
Good question.
Yeah.
So I've been married to my husband, Clay Callicoat. We just celebrated our 9-year
Raise your hand out there, Clay.
Clay's
There you
over
go.
there. I have 2 children. Blake is 5. He's in kindergarten, and Lauren is 2. And they're both great. Sometimes it's a challenge for us to get here exactly on time, so you'll often find me kind of in the corner back there towards some of the back rows when we arrive.
That's why you sit back there. Yeah. Well, so where were you born, and how did you end up here?
Yeah, so I was born actually at Wright-Patterson, at the Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. I'm the daughter of David and Phyllis Quick, who are also here and members of the church. And so, I've been going to church ever since I can remember. My parents took us to church, and my 3 sisters, every Sunday we'd go to church, and then we'd have our steak dinner afterwards. We sort of had this ritual that we would do. And so I actually started coming here when I was, I think, towards the end of my college days. My parents started coming here, and then I went off to college, and I was living other places for 20-some years, but I would often come back here and visit when I was here for the holidays, and my parents were often Sunday school teachers here and in other places, so I'd sometimes stop in at their Sunday schools classes and get to know folks in their class. And Clay and I moved back here to Indianapolis about 4.5 years ago, and shortly after we joined the church. So it's great to be able to see my folks here and their friends and everybody else when we come.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And what you have a career?
I do, yes. So my background is industrial engineering. I'm a Boilermaker from Purdue, and did manufacturing for a couple years. I went back and got my MBA at Indiana University, so I'm one of those play both sides kind of people, but worked in technology. And so about, I guess, maybe 14 or 15 years ago, I started working in the higher education field at the time for University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. And then since then, I've been working for either universities or organizations that help serve universities. And so my passion really professionally right now is helping make higher education more affordable and more accessible, especially to people who may not have the opportunity to go to college. So I work for a university called Southern New Hampshire University. Some people might have seen their commercials on TV, but they're across the United States, and I'm helping to drive partnerships with employers here in Indiana, trying to help them upskill their employees, in particular their frontline employees who may not even think of themselves as college material, and try to help lift up the state in general to get more people with credentials and degrees in higher education.
Great. So many of us have known you since you've been here, but you kind of came up big on the pastor's radar screen in the last year or so. You had quite an adventure with your health. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so this spring in April, I thought I had the flu. I was just feeling pretty poorly, and it would kind of ebb and flow, and I was feeling pretty sick, but sometimes you just kind of put that on the back burner and you focus on getting everybody to school or whatever you need to do. And eventually, after feeling pretty poorly for 5 or 6 days, my dad sort of convinced me to go to the emergency room with him pretty late on a Saturday night. So we were there for several hours and getting liquids, and they ran my sort of vitals, and they decided I should still stay in the hospital, but I sent my dad home. It was probably 4:30 or 5 in the morning. And then after he left shortly, maybe an hour after he left, I was in a regular sort of hospital room and ended up kind of really going downhill quickly, having sort of a code blue situation where they were trying to resuscitate me, and it was very traumatic and sort of scary and upsetting. And I woke up a couple days later, not really knowing what was going on, but sort of with a ventilator attached with 7 different IV lines coming in and restrained, and really not knowing what was going on. So I was out of it for a while, ended up being in the ICU, the hospital for, I think, 9 days or 11 days, I can't even remember, most of those in the ICU. And they didn't know what was going on for a while. And it was very, very dire and drastic, and I'm told that I'm very lucky to be alive, and maybe if I hadn't got into the ER that night, it's very possible I would have passed away. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Somebody was looking out after me.
Yeah, somebody was.
A couple days into it, they finally ran some more tests. I mean, they were running tests the whole time. And they ran another test, which helped to identify the fact that I had 2 really big, significant kidney stones in my blocking some passages, and that was creating a big internal infection. So I had something called sepsis, where your body is just, it's hugely infected, and your body's sort of turning on itself, and my organs were starting to shut down. I think my heart squeeze rate was down to 15%, and we weren't really sure I was gonna make it. So it was a pretty scary time.
Yeah, I think I know when you were there, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what you knew, right? You know what I mean?
Not much those first couple days.
So I think it was incredibly frightening. But here you are,
Yeah.
which is amazing. And so you go from people rushing into your hospital bed and you're thinking, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to here you are. What have you learned? How's your life different, or is it different?
It's tremendously different. It was certainly transformational for me. Well, I guess I'd first say that I'm appreciative to the church family and my friends and other family members. I think when I was really spiraling downhill, it was actually during some church services here.
Yes,
and so my dad was, on the email and, reaching out to different people, and I think some prayers were happening, and I know people came to see me even in those very, very early times. I think even before possibly my family had seen me, my husband had seen me. So I know the Gentrys were there, spent many hours with my family trying to help them through that difficult time, and you were there several times, and Jim was, and members from my small group that I'm a part of came and dropped some treats for people who were coming to visit, so I was very appreciative for that. But it certainly gave me I had a lot of time to think.
Sure.
I ended up being off of work for about 2 months as I tried to recover sort of psychologically. It's almost like you go through a post-traumatic stress sort of situation. It's a very complicated time here and in here, but also my body recovering. And I certainly turned to my faith, clearly something's still there,
Yeah, absolutely, sure.
But it just felt like, to pray for him during the good times and the bad. And I felt that now I feel like it's the biggest blessing I could have had, because it's really helped me to see how much I have in life. And it was so moving to see how people came forward to help me. And many came from sort of a spiritual place of praying for me. Many people came and brought meals and provided, kind things for my family, or were just helping with my kids, but really people praying for me and letting them know that I was on their thoughts. I just feel I've never felt more like myself and more loved, and I'm so grateful for the church family here. It was a scary experience, and I feel just so appreciative, and I really turn to God, for the moments that I'm thankful, but also times when I need strength, and that certainly was there for me during this whole experience and continues to be. So.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I guess we never kind of know what we have till we almost don't have what we have, right? But yes, it was amazing. I was also so appreciative of the people that you knew in this family, church family, and I know they helped carry you guys for some amount of time. Yep. It's a beautiful thing. Well, we're glad that you're healthy.
Me too. Thank you.
And we're glad that you're back on it. And you seem to have a lot of energy.
I do.
And we just wish you and Clay and the kids just the very best.
Thank you.
So, friends, Jennnifer Callicoat.
Thank you.